Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From the Field, Ziegler Ag's monthly podcast covering ag stories, equipment deals, and the latest news shaping the ag industry. I'm your host, Kodiak Schears, and today I've got a very special episode for you all. Earlier this year, I got a chance to meet with former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway at his farm. We talked about his upbringing in rural South Dakota, his football career, and how growing up on a farm helped shape him, not just as a professional football player, but as a business leader today. Later in the episode, you'll hear a market update with the latest regional ag news, commodity prices, and some promotions that can help you save and get a head start on making 2026 your best season yet. This show is brought to you by Ziegler Ag, serving farmers across Minnesota, Iowa, and Missouri. If you like the podcast and find it valuable, I encourage you to give us a follow and share us with your friends. That will help us grow and continue to create engaging content for you guys. So, without further ado, let's get rolling. Before we jump into today's story, I want to take a moment to share a really awesome opportunity. Right now, Ziegler is offering a 0% financing program on BCP equipment for 5 years with annual payments, which is designed exclusively for ag customers. You've got 2 ways you can go about it. Option 1 allows you to defer your first payment for a full year after the sale, giving you some breathing room up front. That option does require a 20% down payment or a trade-in valued at least 20%. Option 2 keeps it simple. You make your first annual payment at the time of purchase, but there's no down payment or trade-in required. It's a strong program, especially if you're looking to invest in material handling equipment this year. Just know this offer is available through the end of the year, so if it is something you're considering, now's a good time to explore it. Our main story today is my conversation with Chad Greenway. Most people know Chad for his career in the Minnesota Vikings, but his story starts long before the NFL. Having grown up on a farm, he shares how early mornings, chores, and teamwork shaped his mindset. We also dive into his journey during his college career and how those formative years laid the foundation for success in the NFL and his passions off the field. Hi, Kodiak Schears with Ziegler Ag. I'm here with Chad Greenway, and we're here at his farm. I just wanted to give you a chance to give you a little introduction.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on and looking forward to it. And yeah, it'd be fun to show you around. Not much going on right now, but still fun to show you around.
Yeah, this is awesome. I don't know how it came up in conversation at the office, but we were talking about Highland cows and how they're originally from Scotland, right?
They are, yeah. Scottish Highlanders. Yeah, so there's minis that have now been bred into, but these are full. So 3 years. The older 2 are 3 years, and the younger 2 are 2 years. And yeah, they're a handful. And those horns, I never had these growing up. I grew up with black white-faced Angus calvers, and didn't have anything like this, which is kind of they're fun though, and they have a great personality. So it's they're fun to have around, and they're always hungry. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I bet. So people obviously they know you for your football career and all of the success that you've had there. Can you tell us a little bit about your farm and what's your day-to-day look like here?
Yeah, my day-to-day here is this is more of just a hobby farm for me. So live in town, and really around COVID is when I realized that growing up on a farm, I wanted to give my kids some version of what I had growing up. And without having to be a full-time operator where animals fully depend on me every day because our life has just gotten too busy. So this was kind of bought and built around our kids getting out into nature, into the woods, having animals, something to take care of, having gardens, canning vegetables, making salsas, all the stuff that I grew up doing. I wasn't doing any of that, and I felt like I was kind of failing my kids a little bit. And now you have them out here. They're picking weeds like I was picking weeds. They're taking care of the land. They're riding the lawnmower, which is something I grew up loving to do. Feed the animals and learn how to take care of something else, and a lot of value in that. And that's kind of the genesis for this for us. It's not a big money maker for us. It's not something like that. It's more really to get out and to give my kids different experiences.
Definitely. So I guess tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up and what that was like and in South Dakota, am I right?
Yeah. So grew up in Mount Vernon, South Dakota. I mean, population, we're probably around 400 people right now. So small town, 26 kids in my class, graduating class. Grew up in a big hog and cattle operation. So had confined hog, dry lot hogs growing up into confinement hogs. About 6,000 pigs a year we'd sell eventually as it grew, our farm grew, and then we had a cow calf operation. So mamas having babies, every year on the cycle and sell them off, and then row crops. So corn, soybeans, farmed a couple thousand acres. So my childhood was built around the farm, built around being a part of, kind of that team with my parents and my sisters. And, I don't care what time you got home from basketball practice or football practice, it was chores. And, have supper around 10 o'clock when the chores were done. And hated summer because you couldn't hide from your parents at school and I had to work all the time. But it was one of those things where growing up there, I didn't realize how lucky I was to have the freedom to be able to move around, do what I wanted to do, have obligations and responsibilities that were much above my age that I probably should have had.
Yeah, definitely.
But it teaches you so much about leadership, so much about self, accountability and being resourceful. I'll say the number one thing is just figuring out a way to solve a problem that a lot of kids struggle with now that I feel like I have because, you go out there and you got to go fix a stretch of fence, or you got to go do something, or take care of an animal, or figure out how to fix something. You just got to do it, and I think that's it's a quality a lot of kids that don't have. I think farm kids, luckily have that.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good segue into like your professional career and like getting into football and all that. How do you feel like that upbringing helped you, just get a slight edge or, just understanding of what it takes to be successful?
Yeah, I think, grow up in that environment, I was always a part of a team, like I said. So like you always have to know how to play your role, whether you're loading pigs, you're working calves, you're running the tillage equipment so Dad can run the planter. Like you're doing things in tandem, working together to be able to accomplish a goal for something bigger than yourself, a farm, a business, and sports. That's what sports are, is being a part of a team. And I think the biggest thing I learned going from, small town high school football to eventually Big Ten football at Iowa and then the NFL was you're rarely going to ever be the most talented guy. And if ever, I don't know if I was ever the most talented guy in the locker room, maybe other than in high school. And so you have to find another way to win. And for me, it was always about work ethic and also being aware of the things I wasn't very good at. One thing growing up on a farm is, a lot of honesty around like doing something better, fixing something better, getting something straight, or all the things that are just kind of being coached, being held to a standard. That really is what probably set me apart when it came down to it with football, is my ability to adapt, get better, and realize what I wasn't good at.
Sure, definitely. That's a great answer.
If we walk this way, I bet we can get them to come to us.
That'd be awesome.
Get a little closer. They're going to think we have corn in our hand or something.
Help me understand that, when you were in high school and you wanted to pursue football in the future, I guess. Walk me through that. And
yeah, I mean, I was just a sports nut growing up. I mean, I think like a lot of boys, a lot of kids, I watched professional sports. I watched Michael Jordan. I watched all these guys that were playing. I was like, I want to be like that guy. So I think it started there. And I never had anybody in my life tell me it wasn't possible. I think, I didn't realize, I was too naive to understand how hard it was going to be to come from Mount Vernon, South Dakota and play college football at any level. Needless to say, Big Ten football or make it out of South Dakota. It's just hard to get recruited back then. It was harder, hard to get found, harder for a game to translate. I didn't realize any of that. I was just naive to the whole process. But I never had an adult in my life, a coach, a parent, anybody say like, dude, like that's not possible. You can't think that way. It was always about like, it's going to take a lot of hard work and grit and toughness and all the things that come with it. And then a lot of good luck, quite honestly. And I think in high school, I was starting to do some things at my older ages that were pretty unique to that area and hadn't really been done before. But I think my kind of secret sauce is that I was a multi-sport kid. I mean, it was football to basketball to track to baseball year round, and I never focused on one thing. And eventually, I was starting to get recruitable age. I was getting recruited more for basketball and track, quite honestly. And then I had one lucky moment in high school where the right guy watched my high school championship game my senior year. So basically, I mean, at the end of my rope was recruiting, and one guy watched my game and called Coach Ferentz at Iowa and asked if he had ever heard of me before. And of course he hadn't. And I got on their radar, sent him a highlight tape, and before you know it, I'm getting recruited, and then eventually I get offered. And they took a shot at me. I mean, no doubt, no way about it to look at it in the fact that they took a risk and took a chance on me and gave me an opportunity. And like anything in life, sometimes you only get one. So that was my only offer. And I went there with my head down, just with the mentality, I'm just going to work and see what happens. And
I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I went there as a quarterback, a safety. You know, I'd never really played linebacker before, 190 pounds. Hey, girl. And I was just willing to do whatever it took. I had no ego. Didn't have this idea that I had to play quarterback or had to do this or had to do that. It was like, what do the coaches say today? I'm going to go do that as hard as I can, and then do that tomorrow, and do that again the next day. And I think when you have the mentality of like, you kind of take your ego out of things, and you just say, listen, like whatever's on the plate today, I'm going to do it as hard as I can. Yeah. And that's all I can control. It simplifies things. You don't look for that long-term goal of, well, can I play at Iowa? Can I be a pro? Like, it's just about if I can just attack today. And I do think that's a lesson that comes from farming, because at the end of the day, like, you wake up, you have an agenda of things to get done, and you got to go take care of it. And sometimes it's not the most glorious or glamorous job, but you want to get it done and get it done right. And then you reap the fruit of that labor in farming. And I think that's a really important lesson for anybody.
We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. If you're tackling weeds, pests, or just trying to stay ahead of things around the yard, you can get 15% off STIHL sprayers and mist blowers when you buy in store. Now through May 31st, get professional grade performance for superior weed and pest control with STIHL sprayers and mist blowers, designed for power, precision, and reliability. Whether you're maintaining a lawn, garden, or landscape, now is the time to act. This promo applies to in-stock units only, and it can't be combined with other offers. Don't let the weeds and pests win. Take back your yard today. Now let's get back to the episode.
So when you were recruited, you were the first round draft pick.
Yeah.
And at that point you had already been a star at Iowa State.
Yep. At Iowa, correct.
Iowa. So,
yeah, you can't make that mistake.
You can't make that mistake.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. At Iowa. And so I guess walk me through that process.
You know, when I went to Iowa as basically a nobody recruit, I was kind of the underdog, you know, mentality-wise, small town kid. Nobody really had expectations of me. And you don't realize how lucky it is to be in that position, because there's nobody expects much of you. So anytime you do something good, they're surprised, right? They're happy, they're excited, they're rooting for you, they're cheering you on. Just like if you turn on a TV and you're watching a basketball game and you have no rooting interest, but it's a 16 seed versus a 1, you tend to root for the 16 seed, right? You want to see the upset.
Yeah.
And so I had that mentality going in, and you know, I go to Iowa and I earned this opportunity to play, and things had gone well. I was a couple-time All-American, 3-time All-Big Ten. Like, that stuff didn't, like, you can't even like make it up that it happened. It's just such a, you almost have to pinch yourself to realize like the things that transpired to get there. So I get there my first year. After my first year there, I tear my ACL for the first time, my right leg. And so I kind of gotten my way in, had built my way all the way up to the top of the depth chart, and then I tear my ACL. So this big step backwards when you have all this momentum forward was a great life lesson to realize that things can be taken from you any moment. And that really drove and motivated me to know that it could be taken away, and you have one shot at this. So throughout the rest of my college career, I kind of just ground and had the mentality of, I'm just going to work as hard as I can. And things worked out. Had my head down. And it was a program where when you do that, like, good things are going to happen to you. Before you know it, like, I'm coming up and I have my name called in the draft, and that was just a crazy experience. Here's Roy. We gotta
say
hi,
Roy.
He's gonna be bothered if we don't say hi.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's little Roy. Yeah, they see.
Jealous.
Yeah, they're thinking they've never eaten before. That's what they haven't eaten in days when they have a full bale out there. So plenty of grass. The grass is going to start greening up here too. But yeah, that, you know, to get drafted, it almost seemed like it wasn't real. You know, just because you have this idea, you see and watch the draft, and you see people, you know, realizing their dreams, and
never think it's going to be you.
Never think it's going to be you.
Yeah.
And you know, I got to be drafted out of my farm, with all my high school buddies, college buddies out there, and just a great experience. And it seemed like it wasn't real. That's for sure.
That's awesome.
Here's Ella. Ella's got to come join, see if she can get some loving too. Yep, these are 3-year-olds, full size, full grown donkeys, and they are. People ask, like, why did you get donkeys? I didn't grow up with donkeys, but what I didn't realize when I got these guys, especially since we don't live out here full time, is I wanted some protectors of the property, and these guys are protectors. They keep predators away. They can be meaner than snakes, although they're pretty soft right now. But
And very smart animals too.
Very
and
smart, very intuitive. They're very emotional actually, and just like they're making all sorts of rack when we get out here. They want to come see us, and maybe because they're hungry, but they also like a little loving sometimes too. So ain't nothing wrong with that. They're funny though.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are some favorite memories when you were playing for the Vikings? Like tell me favorite teammates.
Yeah, I say Ben Lieber, linebacker, friend of mine. He was the guy that I looked up to in South Dakota because he was a South Dakota boy. Went to Kansas State, went to the Chargers, then came to the Vikings as a free agent, and I got to play with him for 5 years. And mentor, hero of mine that became one of my best friends. And now, he lives here in Edina, and I get to see him all the time. And just a guy I looked up to in every way. So favorite teammate by far is Ben. Had a bunch of great ones, bunch of legendary guys that are going to the Hall of Fame with Jared Allen. You have Steve Hutchinson went in the Hall of Fame. You have Kevin Williams should go in the Hall of Fame. Play with Brett. Play with these guys. They're just crazy good players. Randy Moss for a couple games. So just you pinch yourself playing with these like legends. And then, I get into it and I get to play 11 years and get a chance to play for the Vikings my whole career, which is unique and a great experience unto itself. A goal of mine, Jim Kleinsasser played all 13 years with the Vikings, and don't do that. And, he had that experience of retiring a Viking and playing for one organization. I felt like that was the most South Dakotan thing I can do, is to just be a guy who's loyal, who wants to be where he's at and not looking for the next thing. And it felt like that was the right thing for my family and for me and my career. And to finish a Viking was special. But, making the NFC Championship game in 2009, lost in heartbreaking fashion, but still, like, to get there and to be in that moment was special. Make the playoffs, make a couple Pro Bowls, be all pro. I mean, to get some of those awards and kind of be amongst the best at what you do in the world is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And especially coming from, the background I came from. It's not easy for farm kids to have a perspective that they can make it to that level with all the different organized sports and different cities and the different kids you're going up against. It can feel insurmountable, I think, at times. But the stuff we're born with or ingrained into us as farm kids kind of sets itself apart when it gets down to it, when you become part of a team and that hard work and work ethic. It really matters when it comes down to football, especially.
Definitely. So I guess you you retired in 2017.
Yep. That seems like yesterday, but
right. It wasn't that long ago. It doesn't feel that long ago.
It's crazy.
So how did you figure out what you were going to do next?
Yeah, that was a challenge. I mean, honestly, you kind of, everybody always tells you when you're playing the game, it's like, well, you better start thinking about what's next. What's the next thing? What are you passionate about? Do you want to be a business guy? I'm like, I didn't want to do any of those things. In my life, like, I want to be a football player and I wanted to live my dream, which all worked out, which was awesome. But then it was like, well, what's next? Well, I had 4 kids, 4 awesome kids, a beautiful wife, and had this life that was kind of set in front of me. And it's like, I want to really be here for my children. And I thought the best thing that football really gave me, other than me realizing my dream and accomplishing a goal, was like it now gives me time. I was able to make money doing the thing I love to do. Now I can really kind of enjoy raising my kids. And I've been doing that now. I have an 18-year-old that's going to be going to college here next year, which is crazy, a 15-year-old and an 11 and 9-year-old. So I've been a huge part of their athletic journey, their sports journey, their life growing up. I mean, I don't have to miss a thing, which is fun. And I also think, I have become interested in now, running a couple businesses and doing some fun stuff. So we have our Great Duck Spirits brand, which is a vodka brand here locally in Minnesota, which has been a fun new challenge. Mm-hmm. And we've been 9 years at that now, which is fun. Leave the fence alone. Why are you doing that? Huh? Why are you doing that? Don't do that. So it's been fun to jump into some other stuff. And it was funny, the first regular season game that I was out. So 2017, that opener in September, I got nothing on the calendar that day, right? I'm not playing anymore. And it was the year the Vikings would end up going and having the Minneapolis Miracle and going to the NFC Championship game and losing to the Eagles. But that first weekend, I went to a restaurant at lunch right when the game was starting. And you look around and you realize that, like, this isn't everybody's life. Like, football was, you were entertainment. Mm-hmm. You were there for people. People are crazy fans, and we have a crazy, awesome fan base. And I had a bunch of fans that really supported me over the years. But you realize there's a whole world out there that people aren't living and breathing and dying Vikings football every day at noon. They might watch it back, or they're running to a kids game, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. And, it's just, it puts some things in perspective.
Probably felt a little strange at first,
Yeah,
right?
it felt strange. It felt weird. I remember that first Sunday was the weirdest one. You're just like, man, I feel like I'm supposed to be someplace else. But I didn't want to have to go to training camp to get there.
Yeah.
And go through the hard work and,
Yeah.
and preparation that it took. That is one thing that was nice not to have.
We'll be right back after a quick commercial break. If hay season is coming up fast on your operation, here's the deal you'll want to take advantage of. Now through the end of May, you can save 10% on all AGCO hay cutting parts with no minimum purchase required. Available in-store or online, AGCO genuine hay parts are designed for consistent cutting performance and dependable operation when the timing matters most. And while we're talking about hay, the 10% bulk order discount is back, but only while supplies last. So if you're picking up 10 or more rolls of select in-stock net wrap, you'll get 10% off. Just keep in mind it's an in-store deal only. So if you're planning ahead, swing by your local Ziegler location and grab what you need before it's gone. Now let's get back to the episode.
One of the questions I was going to ask, but I forgot until now. Do you have like a favorite piece of equipment?
Oh, my skid loader.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my cat. It's ridiculous. It's my favorite thing times 1,000. And maybe my riding lawnmower too, my Toro.
Yeah.
That might be good too. Those two things by far my favorite. But growing up, we didn't have a skid loader growing up. We used all farm tractors. So having a skid loader now, like when I got connected to you guys on the construction side, on the compact side, it was just awesome. I got that thing out here. I use it for anything. I mean, I mow with it. I remove all my brush if I need to. Till up all my gardens with it. Yeah, I don't need a farm tractor. I can use that for basically everything.
Yeah.
With attachments.
Yeah,
So.
it's amazingly powerful, that little machine.
Oh my gosh, I do all my feeding with it, clean up all my lots with it. It's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say enough.
What would you say to a farm kid right now that maybe has aspirations to go into football, maybe farming full time for their generational farm? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, it's amazing. First of all, you're lucky. You're lucky to have the background you have, the growing up the way you are growing up, and learning the lessons you're learning. Because I don't care if you're 43 now, former athlete, or you've been farming for 25 years and that's all you've ever wanted to do. Like, that work ethic and mentality will always serve you, and it will serve others. I think that's the one thing that I've learned as I've gone out is that, the best advice my dad ever gave me when I left to go to college was never forget where you came from. And that meant something at 18 that means something different to me now at 43 when I'm raising kids. That sense of community, that sense of being there for your family, that sense of being a great dad and a great husband and being a steward of the earth and the ground and land as a farmer, like that stuff really matters to us. And that will never leave you. I left that world for a long time and didn't think I wanted to be a farmer after I was, go to college and then you play ball and all of a sudden like this starts to kind of get back in the back of your mind and say, I need to be out in some open spaces. I need to be around some animals and some livestock. It's just ingrained in you, even if it's different, even if it's donkeys, when you grew up in a hog and cattle farm, it's something about being called back. And I think as young athletes, as farm kids, like what you're getting with the work ethic and lessons will serve you as athletes. And college coaches at any level are looking for those type of kids because they want a kid that's going to come in with their head down and just willing to work. And almost every farm kid I've known has done that because they come with this mentality of it's about the farm, it's about the work. It doesn't matter how hard it's going to take or how long the day is going to be. You just got to get it done. Those lessons, like, hey, you need to go fix fence from there to there. Well, it means you're not done until it's fixed from there to there. And I can tell you from just raising kids in town, the mentality it doesn't come from kids like that. I've had to struggle to get my kids to think that along those terms. Just because they weren't built around that. Yeah. So you have an advantage. Use it, and your work ethic will serve you the best purpose when it comes to sports. And don't be scared of coming back and being a farmer. I know it's a hard challenge right now with the financial connection to try to get all the implement and the connection to that, but find a way to get it done if it's something you're passionate about because we need more great people out there being farmers.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it very much. Thanks for being out here.
A big thank you to Chad Greenway for sharing his story and for letting us visit him at his farm. Here's a strong opportunity for those looking to upgrade their tillage lineup. Right now, you can take advantage of 0% financing for 24 months on select Brandt land rollers and high-speed discs. Brandt equipment is engineered to handle tough field conditions while delivering durability and performance. today's operations demand. Trusted by producers across North America, Brandt implements help you get more done in less time, season after season. Explore qualifying equipment now through May 31st. Now it's time for our monthly market update. As of this morning, corn is sitting around $4.70 to $4.75 on the July contract as of May 6th. Down roughly 8 cents. Soybeans are hovering around $12, and wheat's also under some pressure, slipping lower with the rest of the grain complex, according to commodities prices listed on barchart.com. So overall, grain markets are pretty solid. A lot of changes we've seen recently comes back to fast planning progress and some outside pressure from energy markets cooling off a bit. But let's talk fuel, because if you filled up recently, you probably already know where this is going. Diesel is, well, it's not exactly on sale. The U.S. average is sitting around $5.60 per gallon. And here in Minnesota, we're right around $5.43 for diesel and about $4.20 for gas. In fact, diesel is pretty close to record highs in parts of the Midwest, driven by global energy tension and strong demand. So if it feels like fuel is eating into your margins a little faster than usual, you're not imagining it. Now on the equipment side, we do have some encouraging news. AGCO just reported their Q1 results, and there's a lot to feel good about. They posted about $2.3 billion in sales, up over 14% year over year. And earnings more than doubled compared to last year. That kind of performance, especially in a tougher ag cycle, really speaks to the strength of their lineup in terms of equipment and their focus on farmers. The farmer-first approach that they've used and the continual investment in precision ag are clearly paying off. Now, to keep it real, this isn't a full speed ahead market just yet. Farmers are still being thoughtful with big purchases, especially new equipment, and things like interest rates, input costs, and tariffs are still part of the conversation. But here's the positive takeaway. Even with those headwinds, AGCO is gaining share in key segments like high horsepower equipment and precision ag, and they're continuing to invest in innovation and dealer support, according to one article from Yahoo Finance. Finally, a quick headline from the USDA, which indicates that they're making some structural changes and launching a new Food and Nutrition Administration, moving operations closer to regional hubs across the country. The idea is to improve service, reduce inefficiencies, and strengthen oversight across nutrition programs. Not something that is necessarily going to hit your operation directly today, but it's definitely part of the bigger picture of how agriculture connects all the way through to customers and how growers can be better supported. All in all, while fuel prices are still painful, on the equipment side, there's real optimism, even if things aren't wide open just yet. There may be some volatility today, but there's still a lot to feel good about as we head further into the 2026 season. Well, that's going to do it for episode 4 of the From the Field podcast. We'll be back next month with more stories from the field, equipment insights, and a conversation about nitrogen deficiency with one of Ziegler Ag's regional managers, Newt Ligenfelter. Until then, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.